Hello, seniors, and welcome to my living room for the continuing story of Hitler's role across Europe in World War II. And I wanted to start today with this map. And it shows you just where we are in our story. Now, you remember in our silly little sentence, we remember what shows us Hitler's role across Europe. The P stands for Psycho, and that is the invasion of Poland by both Hitler and Stalin as a result of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, right? They made that at the end of August 1939. The attack by Hitler came September 1st, 1939, and that's going to mark the beginning of the war. And they, coming in from both sides, pretty much annihilate Poland. But after that, the next part of that sentence is do no bothering having found. Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Holland, and then, of course, France. And so you can see on this map just how dominant the Axis powers were at this point in time. And anyway, so that's what our story is going to involve today. How did Hitler get stopped? And what you see hanging out right here is Great Britain, and Great Britain refuses to bow to Hitler's wishes. Now, Hitler is trying to negotiate. On May 10th, we know that Winston Churchill took over as Prime Minister. That was the same day as the attack on France began. And from the time that he takes office until when France falls, June 14th, when Paris falls June 14th, 1940, he evacuates the entire British army off the coast of France. And you know a lot about that. The miracle at Dunkirk, that was your last topic. And Winston Churchill knows how essential it is for Britain to stand, not to capitulate. And in the speech you have memorized, what General Weygand called the Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin. He knows. Upon that battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life and the long continuity of our institutions and our empires. And we know that Winston Churchill implored France to stand, but they simply could not. And I have another visual for you. You had the French people sobbing as they heil Hitler as he marches down the Champs-Élysées. And here's a very famous picture of him standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. So it's a really, really sad moment for all of Europe at this point. So what happens is we have a facing off then of the British RAF, the Royal Air Force, under the direction of Hugh Dowding, versus Hitler's Luftwaffe under the direction of Hermann Goering. And so you have Hurricanes and Spitfires, very maneuverable, agile planes on the British side, versus the Messerschmitt 109, 1010, the Junker 88s, and the Heinkel bombers on Goering's fleet. And the British are unbelievably outnumbered by the German Luftwaffe. But as you know, the British have some tricks up their sleeve. And one of the tricks, as you know, is their 35 radar stations. The Germans didn't really understand how valuable that was, and they had observers along the coast who would watch as the planes came in and give more specific information. And also you had the Enigma machine that had been decoded by Alan Turing. So they could actually, the British could decode the Luftwaffe messages. And lastly, this is something that you know about from the miracle at Dunkirk. I believe that one of the huge advantages that the British had were that their itty-bitty boats that had rescued about 320,000 British Army guys off the coast of France, they had done that as a civilian effort. So I think there was a fighting spirit that they had, and they just refused to give up. They refused to really to capitulate to Hitler. And Winston Churchill did a very good job as London was being bombed, walking about the city, encouraging people. The people would go underground at night, and then they would come out during the day, and they would clean up their streets. They would, try to make their buildings livable, and wait for the next bombing. So you had two aspects of this Battle of Britain. The first was the beginning of the battle, where the Germans were smart. They were bombing British airfields, and if they had continued doing that, chances are very good that Operation Sea Lion would have taken place, and that was Hitler's plan to take over Britain. And he had a plan for what was going to happen to the government, and how he was going to take over the factories and require reparations, just like he had done in France. But what happened was, by mistake, apparently a German bomber bombed London, and Winston Churchill immediately gave the go-ahead to bomb Berlin. And after that, Goering and Hitler, really under the direction of Hitler, changed his war plan, and they bombed London for 75 straight nights. Well, I think that maybe one night the weather wouldn't permit it. And this is called the Blitz. This is the Blitz portion of the Battle of Britain. And in the end, the Brits stood against Hitler. This is Hitler's first loss, and it's going to be the beginning of the end, although it's hard for us to see right now because it's only 1940, 41, but we're going to see that Hitler's going to launch his North Africa campaign. That's going to be unsuccessful. And then his Operation Barbarossa against Russia, which is also going to be unsuccessful. So while our map looks grim, there is a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel coming. Now, what I've done for your assignment, since you don't have an assignment out of your book, is I've included a Word document which has the directions for two videos. One is about the unsung hero, Hugh Dowding, who I think we should know a little bit about, and in the process of learning about him, you get more visuals about the Battle of Britain. And the other is a TV clip that was aired in the United States, and it's narrated by a very famous guy called Quentin Reynolds, and it gives you footage of what was happening in London. So go ahead and take a look at that. It'll make this more, I think, more real for you as you see these visuals. And go ahead and just prepare a Word document with your answers, and you can send that back. But I don't know about you, but when I first learned about Hitler's roll across Europe and the story of World War II, I just was sitting at the edge of my seat, wondering how could we stop this juggernaut? And we're getting to the point in the story where we're going to see how it was stopped. And so we're about to turn a corner. So anyway, enjoy, and thank you so much for good work, and we will see you next time.